Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Brooks. I represent Indiana's 5th Congressional District. Before I came to Congress in 2013, I'd spent about 22 years in the criminal justice system. First as a criminal defense attorney, representing people often afflicted with drug addiction. Then as a U.S. attorney, prosecuting drug traffickers in Indiana. But I will tell you, after I came to Congress, I became much more engaged in the drug addiction and the substance abuse problems facing our country. Because you may not realize, but 78 Americans lose their lives every day to an overdose. 78 Americans. That's almost 15 people on a regular basis every hour lose their lives. I'm going to talk to you about one of those lives today, because she drives me. She's part of the reason why myself and so many members in the House are focused on this horrible epidemic facing the country. Justin Phillips, a mom in Indianapolis, lost her son to an opioid overdose. He had been a high school senior at 18 years old, football player, great young guy. He got hooked on heroin. By age 20, he had lost his life. This is after he'd been in treatment, recovery. She stood by him. She worked with him, but he lost his life to a heroin overdose at age 20. So she started an organization called Overdose Lifeline because she said she needed to do it until the dying stops. And the dying is happening every hour, every day, all across this country. So she started an organization, Overdose Lifeline, that focuses on raising funds for naloxone treatment for first responders. It's Police Week later this week, and our first responders day in and day out are saving lives in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and at our families' homes. I'm really pleased that the House is taking up more than a dozen bills focused because so many members of Congress feel so strongly about this. I'm proud to be leading a bill, H.R. 4641, which talks about trying to change the culture in this country of the prescribing practices. Because 80% of those dying of heroin started with a pain prescription addiction. And so my bill is about a task force bringing together patients, treatment providers, prescribers, and the federal agencies involved with the prescription problem facing the country. And to bring to Congress the best practices. How do we change the culture of the prescribers in this country? We've got to get people off of the pain meds so then those people will not turn to heroin, and that will eventually save lives. Everyone's had a lot of great ideas. We're going to bring a lot of proposals to the House floor from members all across the country. These are very bipartisan bills. This is something that affects so many lives. We're doing it for Justin. We're doing it for her young son, Aaron Sims. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Representative Dold from Illinois.
Thanks, Susan. Well, again, I'm Representative Bob Dold, representing Illinois' 10th Congressional District. And in the suburbs of Chicago, the area that I represent, we're losing one person every 3 days in the collar counties. We lose one every day in Cook County. And this is an epidemic. But today I want to talk about one in particular. His name's Alex LaLiberte. And here with me today are Alex's father, Gary, his mother, Jody, and his sister, Chelsea. Alex was an all-American kid. He grew up in Buffalo Grove, went to Stevenson High School, which was a great school in the 10th Congressional District. He played sports, got good grades, had lots of friends, and went off to college. What happened there, though, is that something mysterious happened. Alex would check himself into a hospital. He was sick. His parents didn't know what was going on. His teachers didn't know what was happening. But actually, what was going on is Alex was withdrawing. He was in withdrawals for prescription drugs. He would get better. He would get out, he would repeat the cycle over and over again. And this happened until Alex's sophomore year. Just before his final exams, Alex actually overdosed on prescription drugs and heroin and died. Just like the story you heard from Susan a minute ago, he was 20 years old. I can't even imagine the pain as a father of losing a child to a heroin overdose, to any sort of an overdose. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why our bipartisan bill, Lolly's Law, which is going to be voted on tonight, named in Alex's memory, is that first step forward. Lolly's Law increases access to the life-saving antidote called naloxone, which has already saved nearly 100 lives in Lake County, Illinois alone in just a little over 1 year. What happened is that the community got together. The Lake County Opioid Initiative said, what can we be doing differently? They worked with first responders. They worked with stakeholders, with students, with treatment facilities. And what they were able to find is that the first responders actually are on the scene faster than the paramedics. The police actually asked, as we go into Police Week, the police actually asked if they could have naloxone because they didn't want to watch someone die while they were just standing there. The World Health Organization says that if we can actually put naloxone out there, we have the opportunity to save an additional 20,000 lives each and every year. Along with the other bills that the House is going to be voting on today, Lawley's Law is a decisive step not only to save young people like Alex from falling victim to drug abuse, but also to help those in our communities struggling to get their lives back on track. Through Lawley's Law and these other bills, it is my sincere hope that Alex's lasting memory will include giving thousands of others a second chance at recovery and sparing their families from this incredible heartbreak. I want to turn it over to the Speaker now to talk about some of these bills.
I know some of you are here about a meeting that is happening tomorrow. I'd like to talk to you about a meeting that I had yesterday. I met with the family of Jason Simkakowski. Jason was born and raised in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, a place I've been to hundreds of times. After high school, he entered the Marines. He reached the rank of corporal. He was a son, he was a husband, and he was a father to a precious little girl. 2 years ago, Jason entered the VA Medical Center in Toma to be treated for anxiety. He never went home. Under medical supervision, or the appearance of it, he died of an overdose from opioid painkillers. We now know that Jason's death could and should have been prevented. No one should seek help and receive mistreatment in return. No one. So Jason's family pushed for reforms that will make the VA improve its practices and the way it monitors prescriptions. Yesterday, the Promise Act passed the House. Jason's family was there in the gallery to watch it. It is one of 18 initiatives that we are acting on to address the opioid epidemic that is sweeping across this country. You just heard about 2 others. Many states have taken action. But this threat also requires a national response. So whether it is protecting infants, whether it is stopping kingpins or pushers, or making better use of data, we are going to take all of these ideas, pass them to the House, go into a conference committee with the Senate, and we intend to put a bill on the President's desk fast. This is not just about process. This is not just about legislation. This is about saving people's lives. It is about honoring those who were taken too soon. It is about honoring those who want a second chance, who need and deserve a second chance. And it's also about protecting the next generation. Those of us who are raising that next generation care so deeply about this. That is what this week is about.